Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me today back in Præstø in Denmark, the home of Zenvo, to continue the Road to Zenvo series with something very exciting today to go through the specification and to reveal all about my future Zenvo TSR-S. Now this is not like doing the spec for an ordinary car. It is not simply a case of choosing between, let's say, 10 or 15 different colours, but no, formulating my own choices, going through a very, very bespoke process to create the perfect Shmeemobile. And we've spent a fair bit of time talking about it. Today, though, we will go through all of the details and tell you exactly what I'm going for on the car that should arrive in around 6 months or so. Obviously, I cannot wait for this. We're going to have some very exciting content coming up behind the scenes on the road to Zenvo TSR-S. It's great to be back out here in Denmark. It's actually been 2 very fast months already since my first visit to Zenvo's HQ, the time at which, of course, I was able to announce that I've ordered one of these crazy things, but also to take a look around the factory and behind the scenes to start work on the specification. Now, it has been a very involving process, and I'm going to share some of that with you today. But of course, at the moment, I'm here in the showroom area where we have the white ST1, the first ever Zenvo, the TS1 GT behind, one of the TSR-S's here as well, this car in the red with the orange pinstripes around. Now, you might have caught up with one of my videos and updates from the Shmeemuseum where I showed you some of the paint samples that I had received. Those were either a choice between red, orange and purple. Well, I'll tell you right now, I have decided to go with purple, but not just any purple, but rather formulating a very specific paint, going through numerous different iterations. But it's not just about that, it's also about all of the other details. And if we look around this car, you can see some examples. For example, we have the different accent colors. In this case, the orange all around some of the aero parts, the wheels, there's a carbon wheel option, the inlays in the carbon, which are very, very clever in the way that they're designed, and of course the interior and different interior trims, styles and designs. So we have the red car here, but also through in the assembly hall at the moment, the main production area, the blue car and the white car are actually back here, soon to be off on some adventures around the world, plus we have the TSR race car just tucked in here as well. So very shortly, we'll be back in the Road to Zenvo series where my car will make its way through. But today is primarily going to be about heading through to the assembly room, where we also took a quick look with the My Zenvo configuration over here to go through all of the motions and tell you exactly what this is going to be. In the configuration room, where I came to visit before, we have the default TSR-S loaded at the moment, but this allows the most incredible level of detail to add bespoke elements, to change every different part. And of course, we're talking a car with the body color, the accent colors, different areas with accents, different styles of accents, different inlays, and so much more, which we're going to be loading in full very shortly today. So stay tuned for that. But it started with a color. And I've got a sample here, which is not the final choice for my car. We're going to go through to the paint shop in a moment, and I'll show you how we've gone through those motions. But it started with the paint mold here in purple. Now, I've chosen a purple because it's always been one of my favorite colors. One of the earliest Shmeemobiles was my R8 wrapped in midnight purple. The car that I've owned for the longest has been my McLaren 675 LT Spider in a one-off purple called Orion Purple. And for a car this special, we've created something completely one-off. So I want to show you this very quickly under the light so that you can see what this looks like. But we started with effectively this shape, this Zenvo mold in this color of purple, and we've evolved it a bit. You might be able to see this looks in some ways a little bit blue as well. So we'll go through and I'll explain a little bit more about how this process has been carried out, because I have never experienced anything like it. This is where things start to get really very exciting. Behind me here is the next car after mine. So exactly what mine will have looked like not all that long ago, where you have the shell of the Zenvo with all of the carbon fiber panels here for fitment, and then it will head from there onwards towards the paint shop. And talking about paint, this is where we have quite a few purple samples to take a look at, and this is what I mean when I say it is a very involving process. They've been sending various of these to me to take a look at, to hold under different lights, and one of these is the final colour that I've chosen. But to explain a little bit more, each one of these is formulated with a slight change from our original purple that we have just here. So this is what we were just looking at, a lovely purple with some blue in it, as you can see. But as we go down this line, and I'll share with you exactly which is my choice, the first has a little bit more black ink in it. So you can see it's much darker through some of the aero parts and in the shadows. The second has a lot more silver metallic, quite glittery as you look at it, a much brighter colour as a result. Then the third is a fantasy colour, or a mixture of two fantasy colours even. So you can see the pink and purple almost flip that you get out of that from the light. The fourth dials up the amount of purple pearl. It's a very deep, rich purple. The fifth adds some red pearl to it as well and gives you a bit more variation in the colour. And the sixth is actually a development from a famous purple motorcycle, which we also quite like. So I was looking at all of these different colours to choose my perfect choice for the Zenvo TSR-S. And remember, these will be mixed with exposed carbon and with an accent colour as well. But I have gone for number 5. This has been my choice. This is the colour that my car is going to be. It looks stunning out in the sunshine, and I cannot wait to be able to see the full update of it painted in that. But there's a lot more to this and a lot more stages as well to go through, so we need to check those out also. Between the TSR-S in the showroom and the other two cars being worked on in the assembly hall, plus the TSR race car as well, we have 3 TSR-Ss with completely different specifications. I've said the word bespoke a lot, but I truly mean it. There are so many elements of the configuration that you can personalize and make to a one-off. Now I need to go and share with you my choice of color for the accent and also for the tinted carbon fiber, but within those there are many different things you can choose as well. So let me show you on the red example just here. Obviously you start with your main body color, then you choose the areas of exposed carbon fiber. So on this we have the front splitter, the side skirts, the door inlays, the bonnet section, the roof, the wing, the diffuser, and more if you wish. You can then choose whether you have the etchings or the inlays, as we've seen with the Zenvo logo on the door as well. Then you get to your accents or your pinstripes, where you choose the color. Then you can choose which sections will carry it. For example, you could also add it around the grille. You have this area splitting the carbon fiber from the body color, and plenty more within that. For example, how wide the lines are, whether they get wider towards the rear, which bits you actually do. There are lots of choices. With the wheels, this is the regular design, or you can have the carbon fiber wheel. If you go for the carbon, you can then choose which type of weave you have and whether they are tinted. On the interior, you can have the asymmetric design with different colors for driver and passenger. You have different types of materials, different types of stitching, different colors, even different types of steering wheels. There are so many things that you can choose on the TSR-S, and we will go and load it all on the configuration quite shortly. But I want to come through to touch a bit more on the color, because I haven't actually told you the name of the purple for my car. This color is called Lila Perlamore, which means mother of pearl purple, perfectly suited for a color like this. The accent is going to be something quite strong, something quite out there. Lime green, a lime green to go against the purple. It's a color combination I've wanted to do on a car for a long time, and just wait until you see the configuration. I know it's going to seem quite extreme first. In addition to that, the carbon fiber is going to be this, a very dark purple tint carbon. So for all of the exterior, like on the bonnet, the splitter, the roof and the wing, for example, they'll all have this very dark carbon. And similarly to doing the paint process for the main body color, we've gone through numerous iterations of the accent color and even the tint on the carbon fiber to get the exact right result for my car. And this has been such an involving process. But that's just the start. We need to go and get this onto the configuration so that I can show you exactly what it looks like and which options I'm going to be going for. Actually, before we go through to that, I want to show you some of the options that I'm picking out with the various cars that we have here. So talking wheels just to get started. On the blue car, which came to visit the Shmeemuseum, we have that same silver wheel that we saw in black over on the red car. On the white one, we have the full carbon wheel. Now I am going to be going for the carbon wheel, but not in this effect. So you can see here we've got the chopped carbon finish. I'll be doing mine with the 4x4 weave, which is what we have here for the exterior exposed carbon. So I'll have that 4x4 weave over the entirety of the car. I'm going to be pretty much mimicking this style of specification with the exposed carbon areas. So the tinted carbon will be over the roof. I'll have the purple carbon on the engine bay lid and also on the roof and through the bonnet as well and around the lower sections. I'm going to do the inlays just like this with the very cool Zenvo lettering. I'm fascinated by that process, the way they have the opposite direction weave and this almost embossed look around it. It's very clever to see how all of that comes together. In terms of the accents, you can see that they're painted on this in a different way to on the red car. So I'm going to be doing it more like the accents on the red car, but I'm also going to be adding the lip around the front central grille, the mouth at the front as well. I'm going to be going for the carbon fibre style grills, but again with the 4x4 weave. So my car will have this 4x4 weave throughout. Over the top sections, have a look at this. You can see these inlays that they do in the carbon fibre work as well. I'm going to be going for this style of design, but actually even smaller. So you'll see more of them around, more of these shapes through the carbon. It's really cool what they do and how bespoke this can be. On the interior, I'll be doing similarly to this with the perforated style leather, but I'm going to go for the asymmetric style, having a different colour for the driver's side to the passenger side, because I think it's quite unique and a special opportunity to be able to do that, and also have some painted accents through the inside over the dashboard, which are all different things you need to think about, different elements to run through, different elements of the specification. So let's go through now, through to the room, to go and build the configuration and see it in full. I'm going to build up my spec on the configurator so that you can see all of the details, but also take a look at the interior, which, like I alluded to earlier, has a lot more options that you can choose from, and I am going to be going for the asymmetric theme so that it's all about the driver, the way that it's focused with two different colours inside, some of which I can show you with the samples that I've got right here to quickly run through. So starting with the exterior, of course, we've got the colours, the Lilia Perlamore purple and the lime grand green and the purple tint for the carbon as well. We've got a spray out card here as well to get an idea for the lime green against the purple. Now, of course, we're under indoor lighting at the moment, but the interior is going to be all about green for the driver's side and purple for the passenger, and you'll see how that shapes up on the configurator. For the seat material itself, I've gone for the perforations with the backing as well in the colour of that side, and the interesting thing about this is how, because of the way you see it through the black upper layer, you actually have to go for quite a light colour, and we've been playing around with lots of different colours and options to try and choose the right one. Then for the stitching, you need to go for a darker colour because of the way you don't see very much of it. So we're going to be going for this stitch for the driver's side, for the steering wheel and some of those details. Then for the passenger side, we've gone for this purple, which is an identical match. It's absolutely perfect. And then for the backing of the leather, as you can see, it's a little bit plum behind there. This has been made literally as a sample so that we can see it, but the effect inside the car is going to be great. We've got a few more details, like the green anodized air conditioning vent surrounds and the green leather as well for the 12 o'clock marker for the driver. All of those will translate into a render we can bring up very quickly. I'm going to sit down just to set this for a moment so that we can go through some of the basic options, let's say, and just build up the specification quickly. So the main exterior colour will, of course, go to metallic purple. Let's just get that cursor active. There we go. So we've got Lilac Perlamore. For the exterior visible carbon, we're going to select this and put it into the visible carbon over the bonnet and the roof. So in this case, we're going for option B. This can all be personalized, but I quite like the way that actually configures itself. For the visible carbon, I'm keeping it 4x4 as opposed to fragmented. You could have that chopped look. I'm going to be putting the inlays though onto the doors, as I mentioned, that Zenvo logo and also the hexagonal pattern on the bonnet and the roof. The visible carbon will of course be fully tinted over the top, but not around the side. So we'll have partially tinted carbon in the exact matching purple over the top sections of the car. For the accents, we'll add these. We've got a few different pre-configured options. I think I'm going to be going with that version B, of course, in the lime green as we see it at the moment. And this configurator allows you to do so much in terms of, look at this, look at the quality of this. It's like being there in front of the actual car, the way you can look at it in such perfect detail. So we've got those set for the accents. Let's close this up and head to the wheels, which are going to be carbon, and we're going to have the 4x4 carbon weave for those. we are going to go to the brake calipers. We've got a special custom light green made for the calipers to match, and the logo pack, I'm going to have the 1x1 as well. So that is the basic exterior view, let's say, but this is really going to start livening up when we get to the interior. So let me go and get that loaded so I can show you what we're doing. The full system is now loaded, which also includes number plates and so many other details. What we just saw was scratching on the surface of the configuration. Let me show you this, and we'll be able to check out the interior of it as well and play around with plenty of very cool views. This is probably one of the most advanced configurators I've ever seen, and I've been using it for the spec of my own car. Just have a look at this, how it renders live. Now, of course, it's wearing this plate, SH14MEE. You might be wondering why I have chosen that. It was the plate that was previously on my purple Cayman GT4, as it happens, but it also represents my Zenvo, as it is chassis number 14. I thought that would be very appropriate. The 14 for chassis 14. Now, as we cycle around, you can see some of the touches of the interior here. It actually has a few default views saved that you can jump straight to depending what you'd like to see, which is pretty clever as well. Or you can see around there the rear plate on it too, and you can see all the details of the pinstripes and exactly what I'm going for. We can hop straight to the interior. Prepare yourself for this. The interior of my Zenvo. Here we go. The asymmetric style, as you can see. Obviously the colours on here are perhaps a little bit more vivid than they will appear on the actual car, but we've got the green for the driver's zone, which includes the armrest and the driver's door, the green anodized air conditioning vents either side of the iPad in the center. We've got the green stitching, obviously, and the 12 o'clock stripe on the steering wheel. But the detail we've just added, which is the first, oh, I've gone outside, but we can see the metallic flake. The detail we've just added is to have this painted stripe that runs across the dashboard and also on the lower section of the doors in the same exterior purple. Now, if I change to one of the other views, perhaps we can get a slightly clearer view of that. Perhaps go to the driver's view here. We've got these purple touches and they run along the lower edge as well, just to bring a flash of that exterior colour onto the carbon of the inside, or of the carbon panels that you have around. So we've spent a lot of time going through all of these. The dash itself actually has the purple stitching, which matches with the passengers. Oh, and behind the seat there, look at that, the carbon weave on the back of the seat. That's cool. You can see the racing harnesses in here as well. This allows you to do so much. I just need to learn how to use everything. If we go the other way and look back towards the seats, you can see there we've got the split of the two different zones. Perfect opportunity for a car like this to do that. I am blown away by the level of this technology and what that system actually allows me to do. And just sitting here and pressing buttons and playing around with it. And if I had the laptop, there are some hotkeys as well to jump straight to different things. But this car looks pretty bonkers, and that's, I think, what it's supposed to do. You know, this is a hypercar. This needs to have these kind of looks. Oh, I can't wait for this to be real and to come onto the channel as an actual car. And look at this. If I zoom right in, look at the reflections and the way this is actually made. You can see the pearl in the paint, the metallic, the carbon weave. And this is all rendering live. We've been able to, you can change any element, any details, any pinstripes, anything that you might possibly want. But there we have it. That is the final spec for the Shmeemobile Zenvo TSR-S. Now, I mentioned earlier that I'd been considering a few other different colour schemes. Red was going to be one of them, orange was going to be another. I considered extensively going with red to theme it around the Danish flag, quite literally the red and white idea, but decided I have the red Ford GT and that's a permanent member of the garage, so I didn't want another car in a very similar colour, but if I'm going to go for a red, I would end up at a very similar shade of red. Orange, I thought a lot about as well, but I just couldn't really bring myself to think that I wanted that path. So purple it was. As I mentioned earlier, it's always been one of my favourite colours, and I'm sitting here looking at that, and for me, that is spot on. You know, of course, these are the things that aren't, or these colours in particular, aren't necessarily going to appeal to everyone, I know, but this is my TSR-S, and we're going wild with it, and this is going to be perfect. Next up, though, in the road to Zenvo is going to be starting the work on the manufacturing of my car, and in fact, we're going to be taking a look at the wheels. What goes in to the wheels on a hypercar, in particular, the carbon wheels that weigh very, very little. Today, though, has been awesome being out here to go through the specification, to finalize it myself, and to be able to share with you what's coming to the Shmeemobiles in not all that long. Now, as it goes through the assembly process, I'm going to be able to share some of that with you, to go behind the scenes, an exclusive opportunity to see my own hypercar coming together. Words I didn't quite think would ever come out of my mouth, but here we are in Denmark with Zenvo. This is just the beginning. So I hope you like it as much as I do, but for today, that is all. Thank you very much for your support as always. Thank you to the team here who have made all of this possible. But for now, guys, I'll catch up with you again very soon. Cheers.